Okay, well, with that, I am going to bring this meeting to order. Can we all please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Director Gatchell,
Here.
Director Ohilsky, Director Womack,
Present.
Vice President Sesenia,
Here.
President Fourcroy.
I'm here. Okay, thank you for being here tonight. Our first order of business is our board officer election. So with that, I will open up the nomination for board president.
I nominate Chuck Cesena.
I'll second that.
I'd second.
Public comment? Any public comment?
Or I should say, are there any other nominations?
Yeah, isn't this supposed to go like 11 rounds or something?
Okay,
3 days, drag out for 3
You didn't
days.
tell me that wrong. Okay, any other nominations? I don't see any public comment on board president.
If you'd like to make a public comment and you're online, please raise your hand. There's no public comment online.
Okay, with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Chuck is our new president.
Okay,
That was pretty smooth, Matthew.
Do I do vice president too? Or does he do it?
You can go ahead, Chuck.
There you go.
okay, as the first order of business, we'll entertain a nomination for vice president.
I nominate Marshall Ohilsky.
Can I second? Okay,
I'll second.
okay, we have that seconded. Any other nominations? Any public comment?
If you'd like to make a public comment and you're online, please raise your hand. There's no public comment online.
Okay, with that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Marshall. And with that, we will move on to item 3 on the agenda, presentation of our audit report. It's nice to look forward to an audit report.
Yes.
Can.
Thank you very much. Just have a few things I'd like to point out in terms of the audit for you. And I didn't check, is Sandy Sup online, Laura?
She is.
Okay, great. So our auditor is online. She lives up in the Sacramento area and we weren't sure if they had internet or not. So just some of
Underwater.
yeah, a lot of water. Some of the key points from the audit that I wanted to bring up is that we strengthened our financial position during 2021 and 22. Our property tax revenues performed very well, a little bit higher than we expected, but water sales were slightly lower. We were able to increase our fire and water reserves by the amounts shown there. And we had no real changes in drainage and parks, not a lot of activity last year, mainly in drainage because there wasn't much rain. And we just kept revenues steady. Some of the other key points is, as you know, we took over the responsibilities for solid waste in April 2022 and added Fund 650. We also started investment because interest rates started to go a little bit higher. We started investment with our wastewater assessment funds in U.S. Treasuries during the fiscal year. And bottom line is the district should be able to maintain a positive balance and trends going into this fiscal year because of the checks and balances that we have in place. And with that, I'd like for Sandy to make any comments if she would like to.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
I'm gonna turn on my video. Yeah, good evening. Yeah, it was a very clean audit. everyone at the district was very cooperative and provided us all the information that we needed to complete the audit. We did not find any issues with their internal controls. The records were clean, and we issued the district a unqualified opinion. So that means it was a clean opinion. So are there any questions about the audit or about the report?
Danny, no.
No, we thought it was a very well written, easy to understand for lay people report. So
If I could make just a quick comment, I do want to thank our staff. Adrian, our accountant, was amazing, setting up everything. Laura, Margaret, Alicia, everyone pitched in and really did a great job this year.
It seems every year it gets a little bit smoother, and that's good. That's good. So with no questions, we'll go to public comment on agenda item 3.
If you'd like to make a public comment on the audit, please raise your hand if you're online or come up to the podium if you're in the boardroom. There's no public comment online.
Okay, with that, I think this is just a receive and file.
Yeah.
recommendation.
I'll make the motion to recommend receive and file final fiscal year 21-22 audit report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, good. That carried. Let's see, no general action items tonight, so we'll go to public comment for items not on the agenda.
See,
We have 4A first.
I
Yeah, I'm sorry.
skipped public hearing. That's right. Excuse me. That's right. We need to adopt the first ordinance of the year amending Title IV of the District Fire Code. Ron, do you have a presentation for us?
Just briefly, we do have tonight Kevin McLean from CAL FIRE. He's our fire marshal. I would like to introduce John Owens real quick. He is now our unit chief. Took over recently, and so we're really excited to have Chief Owens here and as our partner moving forward.
Good, just in time for the facility study to
Exactly.
be completed. Good.
So with that, Fire Marshal McLean is going to give our presentation tonight.
Hello, how are you?
Fine.
My name's Kevin McLean. I'm the Fire Marshal of San Luis Obispo County's Fire Prevention Office. Today, we bring forward a hearing to consider adopting amendments to Title IV of the Los Osos Community Service Code. This is due to the California Building Standards Commission updating Part 9 of the California Building and Standards Code, which is known as the 2022 California Fire Code. And it is adopted every 3 years. Some of the most notable amendments we have is going to be section 503.1.2.1.1 is added to read as follows. Dwelling units, developments of dwelling units where the number of dwelling units exceeds 30 shall be provided with 2 separate and approved fire access roads when located in a state responsibility area or a very high fire hazard severity zone in the local responsibility area. This is not retroactive. This only applies to new subdivisions inside those areas we discussed. ADUs will not require secondary access. And this coincides with Public Resource Code 4290.5, which they're going out into evaluating subdivisions in these areas defined that don't have secondary access and try to make them more fire safe, maybe recommending secondary access. The next one is going to be amended section 503.2.9 is by removing the amount of parcels a driveway can serve. Driveways still cannot serve more than 4 dwelling units and any number of accessory dwelling units. So previously it had limited it to the amount of parcels it can serve. We've removed that and just left it at the amount of residential dwelling units it can serve. The next section we amended was 503.2.9.1. We removed high and very high fire hazard severity zones wording from driveway widths to standardize throughout the district and the county. It's something we've already been doing. It was something that was just left in there. The next section is 503.2.9.2 as we amended to add driveways exceeding 150 feet in length but less than 800. They should provide a turnout near the midpoint of the driveway. And a turnout should be a minimum of 10 feet wide, 30 feet long, and a minimum of 20-foot taper on each end. This is something we've done throughout the county and in Avila Beach as well. It's not very common, but we do. It's a good thing to have for fire public safety and to get fire engines in. The next section we amended would be the fire sprinkler system. So what we did is we removed the overhangs and covered walkways and decks from the purpose of calculating square footage. And we added the attached workshops. We did this to make it easier, so it doesn't count against people when they're doing, most particularly in the remodels. So the outside areas, it's not being sprinkled anyways in residential units. That way it doesn't count against them. And we added workshops because that is an attached structure and would need to be sprinkled. So we just wanted to clarify that. And for use structures on exception 1, we removed heat detectors from exception 1. If you don't want to sprinkler a building, there's an exception on it, and we removed the heat detection system because we're finding a lot of people when they're building aren't putting power to it, and we're requiring them to put power to it if we're having a heat detection system. So this just makes it a little bit more easier for and affordable for them. I'm here for any questions. We recommend that you adopt the what's proposed, and I'm here for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you for the presentation. It was a lot easier understanding the changes than flipping through and looking for the red lines, but I did that anyway. But yeah, I'd like to have an 800-foot driveway. This means you'd have a pretty nice piece of property. So any public comment on this, I guess, is what we're looking for at this point.
If you'd like to make a public comment and you're online, please raise your hand. And if you're in the boardroom, please come up to the podium. There's no public comment online.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, with that, we'll entertain a motion to
President Setsenia, I would suggest you read the entire title of the ordinance in any motion. Any direct reference.
okay, whoever's
It's in the little thing here, right? I move the board adopt on second reading by title only, ordinance 2023-01, amending title 4 of the district code as presented. Is that, am I missing it?
Suggesting that you read the title of the ordinance.
Okay,
It's on the first page.
right here. Okay, so it's the public hearing to adopt ordinance 2023 of the Los Osos Community Service District, amending and restating the district's fire prevention code found in Title 4 of the district code, this thing, including the adoption of the 2022 edition of the California Fire Code, including annual supplements and state amendments and errata, recommending, oh,
I think that's it. Yes, that's it.
okay.
Just the bold.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye.
I have to do a roll call. I have
we
to do a
have
roll
an
call
ordinance,
because it's an
a
ordinance.
resolution. Yes.
Director Womack,
Yes.
Director Gatchel,
Yes.
Director Fourcroy,
Yes.
President Sesenia.
Yes. Okay, that passes. We're off to a shaky start here. Skip right over that and then public comment for items not on the agenda.
If you'd like to make a public comment and you're online, please raise your hand. And if you're in the podium or if you're in the boardroom, please come up to the podium. There's no public comment online.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to administrative and committee reports. The fire department report. You okay? Yeah.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
We're a little dried out for a couple hours, I hope, and hopefully things will temper down for a little bit. And so for the reporting period, 154 calls from November 22nd to the 21st, including 94 medical aids, 13 traffic collisions. 5 incidents reported as fire. One notable fire was the fire over in the 1400 block of 10th Street, RV fire. A little bit of exposure damage to some of the vehicles in the area there, but no damage to the house. So the boys did a good job. 12 is hazardous, 28 public service assists, no vegetation management projects, and 2 false alarms. Company 15 responded to 3 emergencies during that reporting period. As far as special programs and projects, we conducted a whole bunch of hose training. We were able to get 15 of our available reserve firefighters out to the station and kind of take the Band-Aid off of COVID and get back into the swing of things and introduce them to their new fire engine a little bit more extensively and their new hose loads a little more extensively. So it was a pretty good success. Great turnout from the reserve company. We met with Ron and I met with the EMSA regarding ambulance response times out to Los Osos. Some of those times have been a little extended lately, so we wanted to get some questions, and so we should be going back and having another meeting here in the following month to have some answers on that and determine what's causing those delays to getting out here and servicing Los Osos. Season of Hope. We had the toy and food drive at the station during the Christmas and Thanksgiving area, and we had quite a bit of success. We had a lot of good turnout from the community, a lot of toys, tons of food. We finally, I think, just got the last load of food out of the station yesterday. So real great that the community came out and helped everyone. Didn't make it into the board report for now because it didn't rain that much from the time I wrote the report to today, but we did have an uptick in incidents yesterday. We did, we had some medical aids, and we did have some storm related calls, power lines down, some trees down. We were able to mitigate everything successfully. A little bit of flooding over in the El Moro area. But nothing that was any damage to any property. So pretty successful on that note. Any questions?
Thank you for looking into the emergency response times, the ambulance response times, because it can be tough getting in and out of this community when there's road work going on, different things. And we have a lot of elderly folks, and that's important to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How is the new fire engine working out?
It's working. We're learning to kind of work around some of the things that it can and can't do. And it's very similar to the old engine, but I would say ergonomically it's different. It's a lot taller. It's a little more difficult to get to some of the things. So adjusting what we're doing to allow that to work better. It's just a learning curve and just trying different things, seeing what works, seeing what people of different statures, short people and tall fire engines can be a challenge, and even tall people with tall fire engines can be a challenge. So we're working around it, and we're figuring out how to use the thing to benefit the community.
It's like moving into a new residence almost. You got to live there for a while.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
in some ways it'd be like, taking your kitchen cabinets and rearranging them and then trying to go make a sandwich in the middle of the night.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? Anything else?
Yeah, I had a couple. Well, just not really a question, comment maybe. I really like that I like your new setup a lot. I was wondering if we could still get the list of incident list.
Would you would like the entire list, like the
147
calls?
And then we had it before broken out to aid given and then had the 147 and then aid given and aid received.
Right. And that should be on page 2.
Yeah. But the list of what those were.
Oh, okay. And would you like that electronically, or do you want us to print it out?
Yeah, electronically would be fine. I just think it'd be good to just have that and memorialize it monthly.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. And then moving forward, this will be the statistical report. So the numbers will jive on the written report with what's on this statistical report. So the next board meeting will be the first time that we move away from the old way of doing it and completely into the new way of doing it.
Yeah.
And if there's more adjustments that you're looking for, just let us know. And I'll send it out electronically for the incident list.
Yeah,
that way you have it. Yep.
Yeah. If we get questions
and there was a question, I believe it came up either in the ESAC meeting or this meeting regarding our response times and stuff like that. And we're looking at putting together flow chart like this, similar to what we have here, that's easy to decipher and look at and see what's going on there, and potentially some heat maps as well, as far as where the incidents are primarily occurring. As you know, you look at how we are getting around town, and I know there's some questions as far as roads, road conditions and things like that. So that'll kind of help with all that information as well.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to the sheriff's report. Do we have one tonight?
Yeah, Elliot Coy's here, Sergeant with the Sheriff's Office. Can you guys hear me okay?
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Happy New Year to everyone. So for the month of December, Los Osos, we had 72 calls for service total. It's a little up from the prior year. We had 60 at that point. So for this last December, we had 2 assault or battery calls, 41 general disturbance calls, 3 burglaries, 6 thefts, 5 vandalisms, 3 mail thefts, 1 phone scam, 17 suspicious circumstances, 75 proactive enforcement stops, and 29 preventative patrol activities, which could be foot patrols, business checks, that types of things. Looks like the mail theft has gone up a little bit. And I think I mentioned this last time, the tax refunds should be coming out. Some people I think have already got them. Just be careful with your mail. Lock your mailbox if you can. Check it every day. Don't leave mail in overnight, that type of thing. Yeah. Any questions from anybody?
Questions? No, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. With that, we'll move on to the CHP report. We have one of those.
You do. Jason Grimm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we've got 8 traffic collisions for the month, 4 DUI traffic collisions, and 1 regular DUI non-collision. So I'll start from the top there. On 12:30 at 1 a.m., we had a DUI arrest on 7th Street at Napomo. Then we had the first DUI crash on the 7th at 9:53 p.m. It was a 2-vehicle non-injury, and that was at Los Osos Valley Road at Turi. On the 13th, we had one at 10:36 p.m. It was a 2-vehicle major injury traffic collision, Los Osos Valley Road at Jacaranda. On the 25th, we had one at 4:50 p.m. It was a solo minor injury traffic collision, Los Osos Valley Road at Diablo. And the final one was on the 31st, 7:43 p.m. It was a solo non-injury traffic collision, South Bay at Morrow Ave. And then the first traffic collision was on the 4th at 5:45 p.m. It was a hit and run with no follow-up. That was at South Bay at Los Osos Valley Road. On the 6th, we had one at 10 a.m. It was a 2-vehicle non-injury. It was at Farron at Binscarth. I think I'm saying that right, Binscarth. On the 6th, we had another one at, what was it? What was the proper saying? Binscarth?
No, Binscarth was right.
Okay, perfect. On the 6th, we had another one at 2:06 p.m., 2-vehicle non-injury traffic collision, South Bay at Santa Isabel. On the 8th, at 8:15, a 2-vehicle minor injury traffic collision, South Bay at El Moro. On the 9th, at 9:40 p.m., a solo traffic collision, non-injury at Los Osos Valley Road at Foothill. On the 11th, 10:25 a.m., solo vehicle into a tree branch that fell, and that was at 2nd at Santa Isabel. On the 19th, 8:30 a.m., 2-vehicle non-injury traffic collision, Los Olivos at 10th. And the final on the 27th, it was a 2-vehicle non-injury traffic collision involving an RTA bus. That was at 11th Street in Santa Isabel. That was it for us.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. One thing I've encountered in talking around with people in the community is a perception that there's not any or very little traffic ticketing within the town itself. Do you have any data that could shed light on that? Like about volume of traffic tickets?
We don't have the ability to extract that data. By city, we could do it by the beat code, which it'd be a pretty broad, it would probably cover Cayucas, all of Los Osos Valley Road, and I don't know if we have the ability to pinpoint it that way. Our state system just doesn't work that way. I can look into it and I will find out. Be looking for like that to be part of the monthly report.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. I think everybody feels the CHP presence on LOVR, but just around town itself. I think we've talked to the sheriff in the past that that CHP is the agency that handles the traffic ticketing around town mostly for moving violations. Is that accurate to say?
Yep. And do you have a
Yeah,
specific area of concern?
Yeah, just especially in and around the schools and stuff like that. And I just thought perhaps there was some data to help kind of shed some light on that and debunk the myth.
Okay, I'll look into it and I'll see what I can find.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
We could probably develop a list of vehicles to look out for. No, never
Please,
mind.
yeah, send them our way.
We know those ones.
Yeah, and if you guys have
Oh.
problematic areas that you really want to address, I know we've constantly addressed the schools issue and talked about the radar trailer out there, and we put it out there several times on LOVR. But if you have specific areas where there's like pedestrian violations, we can put in a traffic complaint, and that will make sure we send out our patrol officers out there, specific dates and times that you guys request, and provide some additional enforcement there.
Oh, that's helpful. Yeah, so we can have people, instead of just passing along disgruntledness, they could be specific, and we can
Yep.
get some.
Yeah, we do targeted
specific
enforcement.
action.
You give us some pinpoints, we'll definitely put some people there, dates and times.
Okay.
All
No, that's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I appreciate you explaining that. Thank you.
Okay, no more questions. We will move on to the Utilities Department report. And I noticed that we use less water, 10% less than a year ago. That was good. Thanks everyone for continuing to recognize the fact that the drought is not over. I had a couple of comments about the updates, the project updates.
Yes.
We're moving ahead with the Bay Oaks well. That's good. And the unfortunate need to work on 16th Street tanks again.
Right.
The transfer pump project
Yes.
doesn't seem like a big deal. I guess I'm frustrated that this equipment storage building keeps getting put off. And I'm just wondering about reserves taking care of the transfer pump thing. Is that something we could talk about at UAC?
We can. Cash flow is going to definitely be an issue coming up
Okay.
with the Bay Oaks well project proceeding. We're almost done we're at about 100% design for the transmission line, which is going to cost about $1 million once we get that going out to bid. If you recall, when we were doing the analysis for the rate increase, that we wanted to keep a minimum of around $1 million in reserves, there. And so we're going to run into a period here with the South Tank or North Tank project, which has escalated from about, I think the South Tank cost about $550,000. We're estimating North Tank, because of where things are at with the economy, inflation, et cetera, about $750,000 to $800,000. So everything we're seeing has escalated in cost. So when the transfer pump came in, this was about what we had estimated the building to be, but the building costs look like it's going to be more like around $80,000. So we can finagle things, but
I understand. I got your point. Point taken. First things first.
yes.
The tanks and the pumps.
Yes.
The transfer.
And like I said,
transmission.
indicated here, it's an unanticipated project. And we knew it was having issues, the pump and motor. And so we had already initiated the design. Wallace grouped up with the design, and we actually had it out to proposal or bid for contractors when it just quit.
Oh,
So
staying on top of things.
yeah, so we're trying to stay on top of it.
Okay. I withdraw my objection.
Yeah, but this is it'd be a good thing to go over with UAC. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to talk to the board, because as I'm looking at our cash flow, that's my concern.
Okay. Now you've explained that very well. So we'll Move on to the general manager's report for any other good news.
Want to say Fire Station 15 buildings condition assessment did kick off. We had a great opening meeting with all the primary consultant and subs. They're busy doing all the assessments from everything from HVAC to structural to mechanical. Everything's being looked at. We had a good meeting today, about a 2-hour meeting up there, talking about just the functionality of the building. And it's been a really eye-opening learning opportunity to understand that building and its shortcomings. So we'll be able to get a prelim report going here probably later in February. I'm looking at a final report in later March. So we'll probably have something for the board in April, is my hope. Good process. We have good consultants. I really feel good about that project. The other item was the San Luis ambulance response time, which Chief Province brought up. It's been a little bit disturbing. It's getting worse. Response times as high as 40 minutes because of the location or the lack of location of ambulances close to in proximity to Los Osos. The county has the contract, so we don't really have any recourse. And within that evergreen contract, there isn't really much. There's nothing in there with teeth to penalize them. That said, the county is working on a RFP to go out to bid. I was actually interviewed by the consultant to express our concerns here for Los Osos. But that'll take another about 1.5 years before we see a new contract. And that's where Chief Province alluded to. And Chief Owens has been involved, and we're talking to San Luis Ambulance how to minimize those, when those occurrences when we have such a lag time. So anyway, that's something I did want to daylight because it's very important to the community, and it's probably something that wouldn't surface unless we talk about it. I wanted to say that the county's desal working group is we're working. We had a kickoff meeting. I'm really excited about the way we have a strong subcommittee from the countywide water action team. It's only 4 of us that are working on looking at alternatives to bring back to the larger group, which will eventually come back to this body as well as more information comes forward. And even though we are seeing great rain, we're a little bit over 12 inches of rain for the year. 17.4 is our average. We still have a ways to go. So please keep in mind, if your sprinklers on, turn them off. If you feel it, check for leaks, especially toilets, and be frugal with our water. With that, I can answer any questions.
Excuse me, any questions?
Can we get our own ambulance?
We're working on that. But it's tricky because these are exclusive contracts for transporting emergency, patients. So it'd be working into the new contract a way to have our own transport if transport is not available within a certain amount of time.
Oh, I'm curious about more details, but I can leave that for later.
There's not a whole lot of detail right now that, especially at this point, that I can talk to.
Okay.
Okay, no other questions. We didn't have too many committee meetings this past month, being the holidays and everything.
We actually had 0.
Finance, maybe.
With finance.
Finance.
That was, yeah,
Like mandatory.
that was Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
So shall I
Well,
go?
since, we had a meeting, let's have a report.
All right, well, I think it's just the regular approve the warrants, receive and file the financial reports. And was recommending the audit, was that the previous meeting?
Yeah, I failed to mention that during the audit presentation tonight, that the Finance Advisory Committee unanimously recommended the board receive and file the audit.
Yeah, now that we've approved it already. It said so in there, I think, in the front. But it was a great meeting. Any questions?
Keep up the good work. Because we're going to ask you to do it again next year. with
I was
that
hoping,
committee.
I didn't hear like if we were changing any committee assignments or.
I
like
haven't
how-
heard any complaints, so I was just assuming that that the machine is well oiled and let's just keep it running.
That was our and so but that is at the president's discretion on committees,
Let's leave it at that.
chairpersons and chairpersons, and so it would be nice to publicly state if we're keeping our chairs and vice chairs as is. Or if there are
Yes, that's
changes.
item 7N, I think, on
Yes.
our agenda here.
All right, we're jumping ahead.
Yeah, do we have any directors' announcements of district and community interest, reports on attendance at public meetings, training programs, that kind of thing? I did have one meeting with a representative from Capslow and a community representative about Palisades and the continuing parking issues there. And it's not a forgotten issue. Capslow is doing their best to work with the county to resolve these issues. I guess one of the serious continuing problems here is that without an alternative, you can't forbid someone from camping on a street or being on a street. And is Oklahoma, is that a legal alternative for someone here in Los Osos? I don't know. Those are questions that the county is concerned about. Because that court case up in, is it Idaho somewhere?
Yes.
that,
Iowa. I know what you're talking.
Yeah, it was, you can't just run people off the streets if you haven't got an alternative for them to go to. And so that's a little bit of a concern. So there's still discussions going on. We're trying to resolve that. It would be nice to have Palisades for the community functioning as a park and library and entrance to the church. So that's my end of things. So now we'll move on to the appointment of the advisory committee chairs and vice chairs. And as we've heard, no one seems to object to the assignments as they are.
I'll make one comment.
Okay,
I think if you were so inclined and would entertain it, I think it would be, I think I'd like to see Chuck represent us at the BMC.
I certainly would not be opposed to that. I'm going to the meetings anyway. I guess I'm reluctant to make a move without Marshall being here, although if he's not been feeling well, maybe that's the one we'll leave a question about and I'll reach out to Marshall. And, or would you rather just go ahead and do something about that tonight?
I think it's okay to, be generous and
Hold
talk
that
to them
one,
first.
hold that one for, yeah, okay. We won't make a change there yet, but that'll be up for discussion.
Okay, so will that
Yeah.
come back next month or that's?
Next month.
gonna happen?
Next month. All other assignments are as represented in your packet.
Okay.
And we'll bring that one back next month after I've had a chance to talk to Marshall.
Yeah, I think Marshall's done a great job and I really appreciate all the time and effort he's given to that. And I think it's time.
We're going to have to make a change one of these days anyway, because I think he's going to be 2 years, and unless he decides to run again. And I don't know.
Yeah. I
He
just think it would
deserves
be
a
good-
break. He's
a
been
good
doing
chance.
it. Yeah, longer than I have.
Change.
Okay. So with that, we'll just leave those appointments as is. And we need a ad hoc committee to review the board bylaws. And Marshall usually likes to serve on that committee. And he's not here, so he can't
I
really,
think by default, it's him then.
yes. And you like to help him from what I remember.
Oh, that's not my.
That's not
no,
yours.
Not my area.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
I'll work with him on that. I need to talk with him about the other position anyway. So Marshall and I will bring back any changes that you have to recommend or anything that we think needs to be addressed, as we do every year. Response to previously asked questions.
There are none.
Okay. Public comment for items on the administrative and committee reports and the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Again, it's the rate setting process, the solid waste increase. When does that transition come back to us? I'm seeing that $10,000 check every month.
Yes, as I explained in the report, it was our hope to have that solid waste rate set back in April, May period, right as we transitioned the franchise over to us. And the circumstances have been such, of course, that it hasn't happened. But from here, as soon as the Board of Supervisors do whatever they are going to do in terms of approval, then it will be then up to us. The rate setting process is a 3-year cycle. Every 3 years, there's a base year, which is what we're dealing with right now, which is the audited financials, detailed information about operations, and going through and analyzing, how Mission Country is doing in terms of rates. And it's submitted by the hauler, Mission Country, the request. And then the other 2 years are CPI increases based on, in our case, we do a blended Bay Area, LA area CPI. And then you're back in a base year. So technically 2023 is a interim year. And that's why there is a increase for 2023 included in the base year from 2022 to catch up, get Mission Country caught up. So we really won't do anything until 23, 24, 25, 2025 when we do a base year.
Are we going to be writing the franchise fee checks to the county though, until 25? Wasn't that coming back to us?
We have 10 years.
Okay.
We'll be paying
Okay.
to the county to pay off about 1.2 million.
Okay.
And a no interest loan too. That's a
Yes.
good deal.
Yeah. Okay, nothing needs to be pulled from the consent agenda. I'm more than happy to be writing the letter of support for Morro Coast Audubon. That grant would be nice, and they do good work there. And the Osprey was on site today, so there weren't many ducks around. So public comment for items on the administrative and committee reports and the consent agenda.
If you'd like to make a public comment and you're in the boardroom, please come up to the podium. And if you're online, please raise your hand and we will take in the boardroom first. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I'm Judy Newhouser. I'm president of Morro Coast Audubon, and I really want to thank you for your support of the grant coming in. It should be through the State Coastal Conservancy in February. So your letter is completely timely, and we truly appreciate the support from the community. It's been quite a year. We added a new little section onto the property. I don't know if you've noticed that, but and also a new entrance. And that was through a community donation from 2 individuals, actually. So thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Chuck, osprey eat fish. The bald eagle is the one that scares the
Oh,
ducks.
something had them. There was no one out today. No birds at all.
I
Yeah.
wasn't going to say it, but my husband has a video of a bald eagle eating a duck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they will.
I mean, I've watched them eat coots, pull coots out, and they have quite a hunting technique on coots. So thanks a lot.
Do we have public comment online or any further in-house? Here we go.
Lindy, you just have to unmute yourself.
Okay, good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was too lazy to come tonight because it's cold and wet out. But appreciate that you're all there. And I had a couple comments. Chuck, you talked about the problems on Palisade with increasing parking of homeless vehicles and so forth. I think that I don't know if our CSD is aware that People Helping People has requested use of the county maintenance yard. It's on 10th, right near Kuma Restaurant, 10th and Sena, whatever.
Yeah, it was
So-
the office that the county used during the wastewater
Yes,
construction.
yeah. And what it is basically a maintenance yard, and it's quite a useful set of buildings that are unused. And so there's been a request, I think it's a community vision to see some of the services all go in to use that location. And then there's an offer to buy a community shower. Again, I know that we don't want to necessarily invite the homeless, but at the same time, having some place to do some of the services and get some of this stuff a little better organized, and then continue working with the county to get the excess space out at, they are going to be expanding that a little. So I just wanted to put it on the radar that, again, I think a push to work with the county to ask them to turn that over with some of the major funding that's coming in for homeless services would give us a place to actually have some services available. Currently, this thing just isn't working. So anyway, I just want to throw that out. Then about water use, again, I'll bring up the idea that I believe that if we're so concerned that we're looking at pipelines to Morro Bay to the bring in extra water from there or desal, we should be considering asking for a full no build moratorium right now while we figure this out. It's obviously a issue of contention, but I personally think that I don't feel like supporting looking for outside water if we're just letting people come in and finish up what we have or trying to keep as sustainable. And then on the solid waste, I think that's a very interesting subject to begin with. First, that it was taken away from the CSD, and secondly, that it's coming back. There's a big question with the solid waste issue is the bill that came forward that said that you have to also accept composting as a way to stop methane release. And that is an expensive little add-on that I don't know, and I'd like to know, maybe Ron and I can talk about it, but I am curious about whether that's being addressed because it's also another.
It is. That's your three, Lindy, and that's all part of the negotiation that's going on. I think the rate increase.
Yeah, and Lindy, come by or call anytime and I can talk to you about that.
Any other public comment?
Becky,
There is no
Yes.
more online. I think I see somebody in the
We've
boardroom.
got someone here in the house.
Hi, Laura. I couldn't get it working on my computer, so I ran down here to be in person. Good evening, everyone. Becky McFarland. And this is in regards to the report about the water. And it's good news that CSD people are using less water than the year before. But I did want to address that at the November 16th, 2022 Basin Management Committee, Dan Heimel presented his executive director's report. Something that caught the ear of a number of community members was in the water conservation update section, where he states that the average indoor water use from 2019 was 40 gallons per person per day, and that number remains the same currently. And I know there was some discussion about how do you actually tell what people are using inside as opposed to outside. But I don't know if the number was changed in that report, or it just seemed like it makes it sound like we're doing better than we are, when Golden State was saying we were using between 60 and 80 gallons per person. So my concern is that, the numbers that are put out there don't give a false sense of better conservation than we're doing. And I didn't know if that was something that CSD could address or Ron could address with that, because it didn't sound right in the report. And as with what Lindy was saying, it is concerning that we're seeing more building in town. And it's concerning that the county believes that big giant buildings can be considered a bedroom and basically built with a permit that I would get to put in a water heater or a fence. That's what a building permit does. And I'm sure you're all aware of what building I'm talking about. But that's pretty upsetting. It's kind of like they don't care what we think and they don't care about our water. And we care. That's our only water source. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other public comment. Trying to remember back to Mr. Heimel's, it sounds like is that a difference between indoor and combined indoor-outdoor usage, maybe?
I'll
40
have to look
versus
into
60.
Dan's number or the BMC number. My recollection is because, you know, when we talk about indoor water use for the CSD, we don't have a way to measure it. So typically we'll look at the lowest water using period, you know, and it's in the 50s, you know, and we don't know if that's 100% indoor or not, but that's as close as we can come. My recollection, though, is that using wastewater flows gives you a different number, which could be that lower number. But I'll double check that and get back to you, Becky.
This would be a good month for us to calibrate because anybody using outdoor water this month.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, with that public comment over, I will consider a motion to deal with the administrative committee reports and consent.
Okay,
agenda.
I move that we receive and file the administrative and committee reports and approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
We have resolutions in there, so we need a roll call vote. Laura, could we do that?
I didn't hear a second. Did Troy, did you
I
second
second
that?
that.
Troy did.
Thank you. Okay, Director Forquay,
Yes.
Director Gatchell,
Yes.
Director Womack,
Yes.
President Sesenia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, future agenda items. We'll be talking about S&T and Interties, I guess, a month or two from now.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have something in February. I had been meeting with the representative from S&T, and then the holidays hit. So we kind of last week didn't accomplish much, but we're moving forward. So hopefully we'll have something, you know, before I bring something to the board, it'd definitely go before UAC. So we'll see if we can get something here in the next week or so.
Okay. Anything else anyone wants to bring forward yet? Okay, well, with that, we will adjourn until the first Thursday in February, and I have no idea what day that is. Of the 6th.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
I will not be here.
He will not be here.
I'm speaking at a conference in Budapest. So.
If we got the pizza back, if we got the pizza back. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good night, everyone. Thank you.
February 2nd.